Hello students, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jagdeep. In this video series, we are learning about market structures. In our previous video, we talked about the price and output determination under a monopoly market structure. This video shall focus upon profit maximization under a monopoly. So without wasting any time further, let's get started. So before we begin learning about the profit maximization, let's quickly recap a few characteristics of monopoly. So a monopoly is a price maker. Another characteristic is that there are no close substitutes. By definition, I forgot to write about that. I'll write it over here. A monopoly is a situation where there is a single dominant seller. Okay. Now this is more a real world scenario. However, if we talk about more theoretical version, in that case, there is just a single seller in the market. That is a more theoretical version, or we could call it as pure monopoly. Okay? A monopolist can control either the price or the quantity, not both. A monopolist might be able to practice price discrimination to some extent. A lot of times people might be arguing why or how a monopolist would be able to practice price discrimination, because a lot of time the textbooks might say that a monopolist cannot practice price discrimination, but I think a monopolist is able to practice price discrimination to some extent. For example, he might not be selling the output that he is producing or she is producing or they are producing at the same price to their family members, would they? And if they are giving them at a different price, that is price discrimination to some extent. Clear? A monopolist would always earn supernormal profits in the long run. There are very bright chances that you could see a monopoly firm in the private sector and many a times in the public sector. In the short run, a monopolist is very much capable of looking at all the four profit situations, which is the supernormal profit, the normal profits, the minimum losses, and the shutdown point. This video shall focus on supernormal profits in the short run. Okay? Students, if you're struggling with this topic, consider joining one of my online tutoring sessions where we could explore this topic in depth. I'm currently teaching students from multiple countries like UAE, Singapore, and Qatar. I invite you to contact me directly on the number displayed on your screen, and don't miss out on your 30-minute complimentary session. Let's take a look at the diagrammatic representation of supernormal profits in the short run. Now in this diagram, we have revenue and costs on the y-axis and quantity on the x-axis. As we had seen in our previous video, the average revenue curve under a monopoly is a downward sloping curve. Now we need to remember that there were no close substitutes. We just took a look at the features or characteristics. So when you do not have any substitutes or there is no availability of substitutes for a commodity in a market, the price elasticity of demand for that commodity is less than 1. That means it is price inelastic, correct? And when the demand is price inelastic, how does the demand curve slope? The demand curve would have a steeper slope, correct? So let's take a look at how the AR curve would look like. Now why am I referring the AR curve as demand? Because AR curve is equal to demand. Why do we say that? AR is average revenue. That means this is the revenue that a producer would earn after selling 1 unit of output, and demand is something that you as a consumer would want to purchase from the producer. So AR basically is the representation of demand from the producer's perspective. Demand, on the other hand, is the representation from the consumer's perspective. So AR, that is average revenue, is equal to demand. Alright, let's draw the diagram. So we know that the average revenue curve under a monopoly is a downward sloping curve with a steeper slope. And from the previous video, we also know that if AR is falling, marginal revenue would tend to fall at a much faster rate, correct? So this is the marginal revenue. We are also aware at which level do we identify the profit maximizing level of output. It is where marginal cost is equal to marginal revenue. So in this diagram now, we need to put a marginal cost curve. Let's draw the marginal cost curve. Let us say this is the marginal cost curve. Now this marginal cost curve is intersecting the marginal revenue curve from below at this particular point, correct? Let me just write down the second condition again. A lot of children tend to forget this. So MC cuts MR from below. These are your profit maximizing conditions, correct? And if we recollect from the previous video, how do we get the price and output situations here? So from this point onwards, this becomes your quantity and this becomes the price. Let it touch the average revenue curve and from there you'd be able to identify the price at equilibrium, correct? This is the equilibrium point. Now to identify whether this producer is earning supernormal profits or losses or normal profits, we are supposed to have an average cost curve, correct? Let's draw the average cost curve in this diagram. Now when you draw the average cost curve, please ensure that you do not mess up on the relationships between AC, which is average cost, and marginal cost. Average cost and marginal cost should intersect at a point where average cost is at its minimum, okay? So let's say this is the average cost curve that we are making, okay? This is the average cost curve. Now this average cost curve is intersecting the marginal cost curve over here and we see that average cost is at its minimum at this point. Now to identify whether the producer is earning profits or incurring losses, we need to see what is his total cost at the equilibrium quantity, okay? So now here if we see, this is the price, correct? That means this entire segment here is the total price at which QE quantity is being sold, correct? Do we know how to calculate total revenue? So total revenue is calculated as price times quantity. Let me label it as S. So in this case, the total revenue is equivalent to this whole rectangle out here, okay? That is equal to PE, S, QE and O. This is O here. Now we need to take a look at the total cost. How do we calculate total cost? There are two formulas, correct? Total cost could be calculated as total fixed costs plus total variable costs, or it's average costs times quantity. Now since we don't have these two scenarios in the diagram, we would want to refer to this one, alright? So at the equilibrium level of output, this much is the average cost, correct? So average cost multiplied by the quantity sold is the total cost incurred by this producer. Let's get a reference point here as well. F and I'm going to put somewhere over here G, okay? So total cost is equal to average cost times quantity, which is equal to F, G, QE and O. That means this whole segment. Now if we remember, this is the total revenue and this here is the total cost. That means this entire segment here that I just shaded as yellow is the supernormal profit made by this monopolist in this particular market. So let me write that as well. So supernormal profit in the short run is equal to PE, S, G and F. Now in the previous video, I had mentioned that a monopolist can either control the price or the quantity, but not both, right? Now for example, if this fellow says that, okay, I want to increase my quantity, he might want to increase the quantity. The moment he does, this is where he would hit the average revenue curve and this is the price he would want to sell at. So if he is increasing the quantity, he will have to bring down the price. If he wants to limit the quantity that he's producing, let us say he wants to produce only this much, then he might want to come and touch the average revenue curve over here, and this is what he would charge for this new quantity. So here it is reduction in quantity but an increase in the price. So a monopolist will be able to either control the price or the quantity, not both. Okay? I hope you have now understood how the supernormal profit under a monopoly for short run would look like. Students, if you found this video helpful, please consider using the thanks button below. Your support is crucial for creating high quality and free content for students just like you. Every little bit makes a difference. Thanks for all the support you've shown so far. Also, if you find learning through long videos daunting, you could follow me over my Instagram channel. I shall meet you in the next video. Until then, bye now. Take care.